my name is Kay Russo. I am a veterinarian with clinical dairy experience and background in poultry medicine as well. So a bit of a hybrid, which never seemed to be relevant until this past year. So I was a part of the small team of veterinarians that diagnosed the first H5 case in dairy cattle in the United States. And today my goal is to represent this H5 issue from a vet's perspective. And as food animal veterinarians, we're often tasked with ensuring the safety of our food supply while not compromising the health and well-being of the animals in our care. And we are the front line for diagnosis and prevention of animal disease and the barrier that zoonotic pathogens often have to overcome in order to reach the public. And prevention is absolutely key in food animal medicine. We use tools like vaccines every single day to accomplish this. Prevention works, vaccines work, period. Now, it's really easy to do my job and advocate for animal and public health when this mission is in alignment and supporting the economics and business as usual of animal ag. It is extraordinarily difficult when these two things are at odds. And this tug of war is what is dragging us below the surface with H5 influenza in poultry and in dairy cattle in this country. Now, the current H5 poultry outbreak began in 2022, as we previously heard, and now we have over 168 million commercial birds that have been lost, a disproportionate number of which, to the tune of, I think, 135 million now, layer hens have been lost since 2022. Now, comparative to the 2015 outbreak, we've improved our response efforts. We've improved response times, we've improved biosecurity protocols, and this has allowed us to reduce the incidence of lateral spread between farms. And so in the beginning of this outbreak, many of the situations of disease came from point source introductions from wild waterfowl. Now, that playbook changed, and it changed in early spring of 2024, when dairy cattle became the new and very likely endemic host for this virus. And the dichotomies in reporting and quarantine and general management of this virus were so disparate between dairy and poultry that lateral infections skyrocketed. We had, particularly in states like Michigan, Minnesota, and most recently California, where we see shared geographies between layer operations and dairies. California lost 10 out of their 14 million laying hens at the end of last year and the start of this year. And so that is obviously reflected in the egg prices in California, coupled with some of the regulations. Now, of the 39 million layer hens that we lost in 2024, 28 million of those were the bovine genotype. 28 million. So that tells you that we have a new risk factor for this virus on poultry operations. It's no longer just wild birds. This virus has become promiscuous with mammalian hosts. Its playbook has changed, leaving our response book dated and ineffective in its current state. So spillover into cattle is no longer considered a one-off. We've now seen 2 additional point source introductions in Nevada and Arizona with the D1 genotype, which is derived from migratory waterfowl. And we're seeing increasing outbreaks from migratory birds into poultry as a regular occurrence. Indiana and Ohio have been the most recent hotspot for this in the Midwest, perhaps with unknown intermediate hosts. There might be mammalian hosts in there that we have yet to identify. Now, the problem is the epidemiology of this virus has become so complex that our ability to pinpoint inroads into facilities feels impossible. So we have seen USDA clench down on poultry, on biosecurity, but even shower-in facilities are succumbing to this disease. It feels a hell of a lot like we're losing right now. So thankfully, we've had a reprieve in the last couple of weeks in respect to layers lost at least, which have softened egg prices some, coupled with a reduction in consumer demand. But this virus has just slipped below the surface for the time being, and I would urge us not to get complacent. It will be back. It might be days, it might be weeks, but it's very unlikely to be months. We are out of time. And there's been a lot of misinformation thrown around that the previous administration killed all these birds unnecessarily. And while I do think the previous administration could have done a better job in managing this cattle outbreak, it didn't do anything extraordinarily different from what we've done previously in poultry and what we are doing now when a flock becomes infected. So what is that? We depopulate or kill, for those that don't understand that word, every bird on an infected site to take the fuel away from that fire, to stop the further spread and to reduce the chance for human infections and for mutations, as we just heard. But remember the dichotomy to dairy. The same virus, different disease, different playbook. This virus kills anywhere between 75 to 100% of the commercial birds it infects. They are always naive. And so depopulation is often the more humane route in infected flocks and infected barns. Now, what I can't accept as a veterinarian is we're not given the tools that we need to properly combat this virus, which now has multiple endemic hosts in the United States. If it was confined to commercial poultry alone, eradication would be successful through depopulation alone, but it's not. It's in wild birds, it's in cows now, it's in many different hosts. We need vaccines. And if we consider biosecurity as pickets in a fence and vaccines as additional pickets, our likelihood of keeping this virus out is far greater than either one of those approaches alone. And so vaccines, if they're used strategically, we can use them when we need them, and we can remove them when we don't. That's called an exit strategy. Every vaccine campaign with flu virus in poultry has an exit strategy. It's like putting your foot in the accelerator when you need it and pulling it off when you don't. And so I'm not going to lie that vaccines require extensive monitoring. We will still need to depopulate infected flocks, but if we use countries that have been successful with this strategy, like France as an example, the number of infected flocks will be reduced significantly. They reduced their number of infected flocks by 90% with their recent vaccine campaigns in ducks. Even when vaccines fail to prevent infection, we keep hearing we need sterilizing vaccines. Well, that's not going to happen. Even when they fail to prevent infections, they succeed at reducing viral load that can contribute to human risk and spread to other farms. This will reduce the load to our regulatory officials managing these outbreaks and the heartache to those affected. We have been given sticks as veterinarians in the United States to take to a gunfight and blindfolded by the lack of real-time county-level data on outbreaks in cattle, such as what is provided in poultry. We are blind to the virus and local wildlife in real time as well. Now, the sharing of metadata, which is basically the temporal information and the county-level information of where the virus is a tool that allows us to understand how the virus is moving and how it's changing genetically. This is also delayed by the government, sometimes by months, further blindfolding. The topic of trade as being a barrier to vaccination will likely come up today. And as a veterinarian, my oath is not to trade, but to the health and the well-being of the animals in my care and the public I swore to protect. And its policies regarding the health of animals and public health should be kept separate from policies that dictate trade. Let me say that again. Policies regarding health of animals and public health should be kept separate from policies that dictate trade. We need more tools. We need to trust science, which has unfortunately become a dirty word these days, and we need more transparency. There are effective poultry H5 vaccines manufactured right in the heartland of the United States. In my professional opinion, we could pull those off the shelves and use them within days, if not weeks. We don't have a year to sit on this. We probably don't even have 6 months. We are gambling with and compromising animal health, human health, and food security in this country by stalling this further. And this does not have to turn into a human pandemic to be devastating. It already is. We need vaccines. We need more testing of all at-risk species. We need more real-time results to make decisions on the ground. We need more research funding, and we need transparency from the U.S. government. We need to do better now. Thank you.
This is a fascinating set of presentations.